Hello and welcome to this week's video. My name is Anuska Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me. On today's video, I've got a very important topic. If you feel like your communication skills are holding you back from greater success and earning more money. So before I get into this topic, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy my videos, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and write a comment, share them with your friends and family. And also, if you're interested in working with me, there are many options below in the description box. I've got a couple of online courses through to a digital voice coach option where I can actually give you some personalized support. I'll create a personalized video for you and you send me an audio, through to my signature private voice coaching program, Speak with Impact. So it really depends on how much support you want, how much you're willing to invest in terms of finances, which is important for this topic today, and also your time. But check out the links below. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me through my website, or you can leave a comment below. So this is a really important topic. And actually, for those of you, and I'm sure it's many of you, that watch The Diary of a CEO, there was an episode with Julian Treasure, who was talking about the importance of public speaking and how it's often overlooked, particularly amongst CEOs, and how they often just don't invest in their voice. But yet, how we deliver, how we speak, how we come across is so important. And one of the things that I have seen over the years is a lot of the people that end up working with me are technically brilliant. They are intelligent people. They're successful in their field, they're subject experts, they know a lot about their topic, their subject. But then when it comes to communication, there's this disconnect. It's like, I've got all this knowledge, I've got all this technical skill, but then I find it really hard to express myself, whether it's in meetings, whether it's on video, whether it's in interviews, whether it's in presentations, whether it's on bigger stages, smaller stages, fill in the blank. And it's not something that we're taught. And I think this is what Julian Treasure was talking about, and something I say all the time. It's not something we're taught. So unless you go down the acting road or the singing road, the chances are you will go through life and never do any kind of voice training, voice coaching. Yet our voice is absolutely essential for greater success, greater opportunities, earning more money. There's no point in having all this technical skill and all this technical knowledge if you can't communicate your value. So if you are trying to lead a team, if you are trying to inspire or motivate people, if you are trying to build relationships in any capacity, or if you are trying to pitch ideas, your voice is essential. And pitching ideas could be selling your services, could be selling your products. It doesn't have to be pitching in front of investors. It could just be having a coaching call with a potential client. But people are reading into your voice. Make no mistake. It is not just the words that you're saying. You probably heard the expression, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It is so true, you know, and it's really the energy, the expression, the tone, the quality of your voice that people are reading into. But often it's very unconscious. Mostly it's very unconscious on both sides of the fence. In terms of how we use our voice is often very unconscious, but how people are perceiving us and perceiving our voice is also very unconscious. We're just reading so much into it. And we make decisions, we make judgments. We all do this based on someone's voice. So ultimately, your voice is either going to encourage people to listen, people are going to want to listen to you, or they're just going to switch off. And so if you are serious about greater success, earning more money, taking bigger opportunities in your life, because greater success always means more visibility. It's very hard to become really successful and not do more speaking and not be more visible. Then your voice really matters. And so it's really this ability to speak clearly, to speak coherently, to speak with power and authority, and also to speak freely and openly. And by that, I mean both in terms emotionally, that you are able to just express yourself freely, but also in terms of the physical voice is free as well. So again, a lot of the time with clients that I work with, and probably with most people when they're untrained, there is a lot of constriction in the vocal instrument. So a lot of my work on the physical side is really about freeing the voice from a muscular perspective, from a physical perspective, so that the sound can actually come out. So just going back to this point that we're not taught how to speak. We learn to speak by mimicking those around us. So it makes sense then that we are going to adopt their vocal habits. So for example, if everyone in your family mumbles, there's a high chance you're going to mumble as well. If everyone in your family shouts, for example, then maybe you will shout. It depends also on how you perceive that. So particularly for something like shouting, you can find that you'll either become someone that also shouts or you'll go the other way. But either way, you are still hooked into that habit. So you are either adopting it or pushing it away, but it still has control over you. So the way we learn to speak is very unconscious. It's very much just about mimicking those people around us. We don't really give it that much thought. And I think this is part of the issue because we don't think about learning to speak, because we don't remember our first words, most likely. We don't think about our voice. It's just like breathing. It just happens. Our voice just comes out. And then as we get older, we just start to see, well, this is just the voice I have, not realizing that it's heavily conditioned. It's heavily based on your upbringing, what you learned, what you mimicked around the people that brought you up, but also what you learned was acceptable, what wasn't acceptable. You know, for example, you might be in a family where no one shouts and everyone sort of talks really quietly and pulls their voice back. So then it would be socially non-adaptive for you to start shouting because people would be like, what's wrong with her or him? So much of our vocal habits are conditioned and very unconscious. So then, of course, when we come to adulthood, when we come to business, when we come to our career, we are living within these limitations, but we don't know their limitations. It's like a fish in a fishbowl. It doesn't know that it's in a fishbowl. And so we don't even realize we're swimming in this proverbial fishbowl because that's all we've ever known. And so we think this is my voice, this is just how it is. And that's what we just carry on moving through life with. But it's really, really holding us back. So what I want you to understand today is it's a skill like anything else. Like all the other skills you learn as a child, learning to ride a bike, learning to do your shoelaces, reading, writing, all of those skills, those basic skills that we as adults take for granted, it is a skill. And everyone's voice basically functions the same. I mean, yes, there are some biological differences between male and female instruments, but essentially, from a functional perspective, the voice works the same, regardless of your accent. Now, some accents might be more vowel focused, some accents might be more consonant focused, some accents might be more melodic. You know, there might be more comfort in being more expressive, whereas others are a bit more shut down, a bit more mumbled, a bit harsh. But fundamentally, from a functional perspective, the voice works the same. So when I train clients, I'm working from that premise that there's nothing wrong with your voice. It's just you've been conditioned to shut it down in some way. And when you really understand how it functions and how to get the voice out, then you have access to greater dynamics, greater expression. And what I see a lot of the time, and this is no judgment, this is just, I think, the world we live in, a lot of people just want to go straight to expression. So I just want to sound more engaging. So I'm just going to start intonating more, or I'm just going to pause a little bit more, or I'm just going to talk to the back of the room. But they haven't really got the voice functioning in a healthy, powerful way first. So you're putting the cart before the horse. So you want to make sure your instrument's functioning first before you start worrying about dynamics and expression. So that's a big part of my work. So I focus on both. Let's get the voice functioning, then let's look at expression dynamics. But you need that one first. If you're trying to just jump straight to expression, you are going to be limited. And you'll probably find that your voice fatigues, that you're reliant on a mic, that you really struggle with stamina with your voice, that you struggle to get through meetings, because fundamentally you're just not using your voice the way nature intended. So that's really, really important. So then coming back to what your voice is revealing, as I said, that it's very conditioned. So if you don't do any voice training and you just go out into the world, the chances are there's going to be a lot of limitations on your voice, a lot of physical limitations, because the body responds to the mind. Your voice is responding to your mind. So if you grew up being taught that this is right, this is wrong with your voice, it's not okay to be loud and powerful, or it's not okay to be quiet and emotional, then that's what you're going to adopt. And what we're really aiming for with voice coaching is for you to have access to all the colors of the paint palette. So you're not just painting with black and white or green and blue, you are painting with every color if you choose to. You have access to every color. So you're not limited by your conditioning. You're not limited by what you've been taught is okay or isn't okay. And that's what I see a lot of the time with people. So particularly when people are in leadership roles, senior roles, where they're potentially managing people, you know, they've got the technical skill, they've got enormous amounts of knowledge, industry knowledge, subject matter knowledge. They are intelligent people, and I've worked with many people like this over the years. But then they come to speak, and it's like this different person is speaking. So they've got all this knowledge in their head, but they can't communicate it. And one of the big things I see a lot of the time, and I used to work in the corporate world as well, so I witnessed this firsthand, listening to CEOs of different companies speaking, that the voice just sort of almost shuts down. So they come to speak to a group and they mumble, the voice is really monotone, and they are forced to rely on a mic because they've just got no control over their voice. And people are reading into that. People are reading into this voice that's powerless, this voice that's weak, this voice that lacks expression, or this voice that's just really forced and strained. And people are reading into that. So whether it's this person lacks confidence, which means we might not have a lot of respect for what they're saying. You know, they could be telling us anything, but we're like, but your voice is saying something else. You're telling me you've got all these great ideas and this is the direction of the company, but your voice is saying, don't listen to me. I don't really know what I'm talking about. And so we get into this kind of confusion because the voice doesn't lie. The voice will always reveal what's going on within. So you, as I say, you can be technically brilliant, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if internally you feel that it's not safe to express yourself, it's not okay to be powerful and loud and in your power, or emotional and expressive, and have more vulnerability in your voice, that is going to come through. And that is what we're reading into. So we want to make sure that we're really in alignment with what's going on within, and then what comes out is authentic, it's truer to who we really are, versus we're kind of at war. It's like, it's not okay for me to be like this, but I feel in this role that I have to be authoritative, I have to be powerful, but internally it's like, no, that's not safe. So then that's when we get that confusion with the voice. As I say, I've seen this a lot. I've seen this a lot over the years with people in very senior roles, and there really is this disconnect between their voice and the person's CV. It's like, this person is so intelligent, they're so knowledgeable, they're so experienced, and yet the voice does not reflect that, because there's just this insecurity there. There is this fear of being heard. And I've said this before as well, but whether you sort of push and force your voice out, or whether you pull your voice back and hide your voice, it's both actually at the root. It's an insecurity. It's a fear of being heard, because the true voice really has no fear of expressing itself. There's an ease, there's a freedom, there's an openness, but the true voice isn't afraid to express itself. So it can be loud, it can be quiet, it can be emotional, it can be expressive, it can be authoritative, it can be powerful in whatever sense of the word that means. It can be vulnerable. So you have access to all the colors of the paint palette. So think about your voice then. And is there a disconnect between your CV and your skills and your knowledge and all of that, and the voice that then comes out when you come to speak? Do you find that you put the brakes on, physically speaking? So maybe your throat constricts, maybe you mumble, maybe the voice is very monotone and sounds really boring. Or maybe it's constriction in the other way, that your voice is very strained, very forced, very hard, very harsh, and sort of lacks emotion. lacks engagement and expression. So again, I'm making this very black and white. No one is really all one or all the other. I'm just doing this for the purpose of this video. You know, it's a spectrum, and you're going to be probably somewhere on one side of the coin or the other. But just start to pay attention to, is my voice at odds with consciously how I feel about myself? Because remember, most of this is unconscious. So how you really feel about yourself unconsciously is what the voice is going to reveal. And that's why we have to do the inner work, because otherwise you are literally just moving the furniture around, because you're trying to create change on the surface when the real change happens in the emotional part of ourselves. So I hope that that's helped. So if you are interested in going to the next level, in earning more money, accessing greater opportunities, bigger promotions, then you really do need to address your voice. And I can guarantee anyone that you enjoy listening to, whoever they are, has had some kind of voice coaching or voice training. It's so unlikely that you just wake up and know what to do with your voice. So maybe, and it's interesting because I will often, when I meet people and they've got a really engaging sort of resonant voice, I'll be like, oh, have you had voice training? And they're like, oh yeah, I did some acting voice work when I was younger. So it doesn't matter like where you've done it, but I can guarantee there will have been some voice work done at some point, because it's highly unlikely you will just wake up and know what to do, because we're all conditioned, and part of that conditioning is shutting parts of ourselves down. So we have to then really learn to get out of our own way and allow our voice out so that we can really express all of this greatness that is within us, all of these ideas, all of this information and knowledge and expertise that we have garnered over the years. So if you are interested in going deeper with this and you're ready to kind of create lasting change with your voice, you're ready to go for bigger opportunities, bigger promotions, make more money, you do have to invest in yourself. Your voice is not going to magically change by itself, because it's an emotional and physical instrument. So just doing the voice exercises is not going to create the lasting change that you want, which is why my program is 8 months and not 8 weeks, because we're dealing with conditioning, we're dealing with programming that maybe you've had for decades. And so there'll be a lot of resistance initially when you begin to explore that. But I find that by the end of that 8 months, people really start to have massive breakthroughs, and you'll find that it will impact all of your life. It's not just going to create change in your voice, but it will create change in every other area of your life, because you literally take your voice everywhere you go. So check out the links below. You can book a 30-minute voice strategy discovery call if you're interested, or just go to my website and send me a message, and I'm happy to answer any questions as well. But I would love to support you, because it really is going to make a massive difference if you're serious about creating greater success, greater opportunities, and earning more money in your life. So thank you so much. Until next time, I'll see you then.